The mythology of Odin, the Allfather of Norse mythology, stands as one of the most complex and enigmatic figures in ancient narratives. Odin's character is defined by his unquenchable thirst for knowledge, which often comes at a personal cost. The most iconic representation of this is his self-sacrifice on Yggdrasil, the world tree. In the Havamal, a poem from the Poetic Edda, Odin describes his ordeal. "I know that I hung on the windswept tree, hung there for nights full 9. With spear I was wounded, and offered I was to Odin, myself to myself." This passage captures an act of extreme asceticism, where Odin willingly endures suffering to attain wisdom. This ordeal mirrors the initiatory rites of shamans across various cultures, where spiritual leaders undergo physical and psychological trials to gain sacred knowledge. Shamanism, as seen in indigenous Siberian, Mongolian, and Sami traditions, often involves suffering, self-inflicted wounds, or sensory deprivation to achieve enlightenment. The parallel between Odin's ordeal and shamanic practices suggests that his myth reflects an ancient understanding of spiritual transformation through sacrifice. Anthropological studies of shamanistic cultures provide striking examples of similar rites. The Evenki people of Siberia believe that a shaman must undergo symbolic death and rebirth, often spending days in isolation, fasting, or being pierced with objects. These trials allow them to travel between worlds and communicate with spirits, much like Odin, who, after his suffering, gains the runes, symbols of immense magical power. The runes, which become the foundation of knowledge in Norse cosmology, reflect the essence of Odin's shamanistic wisdom, insight gained through suffering and deep communion with the supernatural. Odin's relentless pursuit of wisdom does not end with the runes. Another crucial myth recounts how he sacrificed one of his eyes at Mimir's well to gain deeper knowledge of the cosmos. This well, located at the roots of Yggdrasil, belongs to Mimir, an ancient being renowned for his wisdom. Odin's willingness to pluck out his eye in exchange for drinking from the well underscores the belief that true knowledge comes at a cost. In many shamanistic traditions, vision plays a metaphorical role in spiritual enlightenment. Blindness or impaired sight is often associated with an ability to perceive deeper truths beyond the material world. The Greek myth of Tiresias, the blind prophet, and the accounts of Inuit shamans who undergo temporary blindness during their initiations reveal a widespread belief that physical sacrifice enhances spiritual vision. Odin's loss of an eye thus symbolizes an exchange. By forsaking ordinary sight, he gains supernatural perception, allowing him to understand the hidden mechanics of fate and destiny. Archaeological discoveries in Scandinavia provide further context for this motif. The Torslunda plates, bronze reliefs from Sweden, depict a one-eyed figure resembling Odin, suggesting that this imagery had deep cultural significance. Additionally, findings of ritual deposits in bogs, where weapons and artifacts were deliberately damaged or sacrificed, imply that Norse societies practiced symbolic mutilation as a means of spiritual enhancement. These practices reinforce the idea that Odin's eye sacrifice was not merely mythological, but reflected an ancient understanding of the costs associated with higher wisdom. Another key aspect of Odin's shamanistic nature is his ability to traverse different worlds. In Norse cosmology, 9 realms exist, interconnected by Yggdrasil. Unlike other gods who remain within their domains, Odin frequently ventures into other realms, assuming disguises and engaging with various beings to obtain knowledge. This ability closely mirrors the shamanic practice of soul travel, where a shaman's spirit leaves their body to interact with supernatural entities. Odin's role as a wanderer is well documented in sagas and poetry. In the Grimnismal, he appears as a mysterious figure imparting wisdom. In the Vafthrudnismal, he engages in a knowledge contest with a giant to test his understanding of the universe. These encounters reinforce his shamanic identity, as shamans are often depicted as knowledge seekers who engage in dialogue with spirits, gods, or supernatural beings. Indigenous Siberian shamans describe their spirit journeys in similar ways. Among the Khanty people, shamans undertake ecstatic travels, assuming different forms, much like Odin, who frequently shapeshifts into animals, particularly ravens and wolves. His 2 ravens, Hugin, thought, and Munyin, memory, symbolize a spiritual extension of his consciousness, much like how shamans employ spirit helpers to navigate other realms. Comparative mythology suggests that Odin's journeys are not mere adventures, but represent deep-rooted shamanic experiences embedded in Norse cultural consciousness. Odin's shamanic traits are not limited to knowledge alone. They also extend to warrior traditions. Norse warriors known as Berserkers and Ulfhednar, who fought in trance-like states, were believed to be devotees of Odin. Their ability to enter battle frenzy, becoming immune to pain, and demonstrating supernatural strength, aligns with shamanic trance states. Research into altered states of consciousness suggests that certain rituals and substances could induce trance-like conditions in these warriors. Archaeological evidence of psychoactive plant use, such as henbane and fly agaric mushrooms, in Viking sites, suggests that berserkers may have used hallucinogens to enter their battle states. This practice finds parallels in the shamanic rituals of the Siberian Chukchi and Mongolian shamans, who consume entheogens to communicate with spirits and enhance their spiritual abilities. Moreover, Odin himself embodies the concept of the warrior shaman. Unlike Thor, who represents brute strength, Odin's association with war is more strategic, relying on cunning, foresight, and magical abilities. His connection to Satyr, a form of Norse magic practiced for divination and fate manipulation, further highlights his shamanic attributes. While Satyr was often associated with female practitioners, Odin's mastery of it suggests that he transcended conventional gender roles, much like historical shamans who often embodied both masculine and feminine traits to mediate between worlds. Odin's role as a shamanic figure left an enduring legacy in Norse and later European traditions. His depiction in sagas and later folklore influenced conceptions of the wise wanderer, a motif that appears in figures such as Gandalf in Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings and the medieval depiction of the Christianized Wotan. His emphasis on wisdom through suffering continues to resonate in philosophical and religious traditions, particularly in existentialist thought, where struggle is seen as a pathway to enlightenment. The survival of Odin's shamanic aspects in later folklore suggests that the themes of sacrifice, knowledge, and spiritual transformation remain deeply ingrained in human consciousness. Even today, scholars studying mythology, anthropology, and religious traditions find Odin's stories reflective of universal spiritual experiences, particularly the idea that wisdom must be earned through hardship. Odin's mythological journey embodies the essence of the shamanic tradition, where self-sacrifice, spiritual travel, and transformative wisdom define the path to enlightenment. His ordeals, from hanging on Yggdrasil to sacrificing his eye and traversing the realms, reveal a deep connection to shamanistic practices found across cultures. His influence on warrior traditions, the use of altered states of consciousness, and the archetype of the wise wanderer highlight his significance as more than a deity. He is a spiritual seeker, a magician, and a shaman. Through extensive historical, anthropological, and mythological evidence, it becomes clear that Odin's sacrifices were not mere tales, but reflections of an ancient worldview, where suffering was integral to wisdom. His myths continue to inspire, reminding us that true understanding often comes at a price, and that the pursuit of knowledge is, in itself, a sacred journey.